What's good, guys? Pictures by Schoolboy here, and welcome back to yet another video. Now today's video is a retouching video, and these are the pictures from my previous video, which is the behind the scenes on how I shot these. So if you are watching this video and you haven't watched my previous video, which is the behind the scenes, kindly go and check that video out so that you can get to know the lighting setups, how I came about, this photo shoot, how I shot it and everything. Now let's get right into it. So as you all know, if you've been watching the channel for some time now, I always use Capture One to process my raw files. So these are the pictures, and this is the picture that we are going to be using for today's retouching tutorial. So yeah, I'm done with some basic adjustments. So if you check right here, you can see that I added a little bit of brightness. I brought down the highlight a little bit and the shadows as well. I added some white, and if you check right here too, you can see that with the oranges I brought down the saturation to -5. So here is the before and after. It doesn't really look different, but I think it's okay. So this is where we are going to be taking the picture from to Photoshop. Now before we get into Photoshop, there's one thing I want you guys to know. Once you open your pictures in Capture One, it tends to add sharpness to the pictures automatically. I think I've said this in one of my videos before, but I'm going to say it again. It adds I think about 180 of sharpness to the picture, and if you don't want the sharpness, you can always come here to the details tab and bring down the sharpening to 0. So that is what I've done for this picture, as it already has a lot of information and details on the skin already, and I don't want to be adding more, because the more the texture, the difficult it is to work on it. So I brought down the sharpening to 0, and let me show you guys the before and after again. And yeah, I think it's okay to take it right into Photoshop. So this is actually the third picture that I'm retouching. I think I've done 2. I'll show you guys in Photoshop in a minute. I think yeah, this one I've done, this one and some other one as well, but this is the third one. And yeah, so this is the first one, second one, and this is the one that we are coming to do. So the first thing that I do when I import the pictures, or I transfer the pictures from Capture One to Photoshop, the first thing I do is to crop the image. So I'll hit C on the keyboard to select the crop tool. Make sure it's 4:5 aspect ratio, and I'll crop the picture the way I want it. So I think right about here is fine, and then I'll select OK. Now right from cropping, the next thing I'm going to do is duplicate the background layer and take off the blemishes from the skin on the copy of the background layer. So once I'm done with the copy of the background layer, I'll just go straight to the skin, and then I'll start taking off the blemishes. Now with taking off the blemishes, there are so many ways you can do it, but I don't just use one way. I combine multiple ways, and I think it gets the job done. It's actually good to use multiple techniques to do the same thing, rather than use just one technique. Because what I've realized is if you use, let's say, the spot healing brush tool, it doesn't get the job done well overall. There are some parts of the skin that it will remove the blemishes very well, but there are some parts too that it wouldn't do a great job. So what I've realized is combine all those techniques. So in some parts I'll use the clone stamp tool, some parts too I'll use the patch tool, and in some parts too I will use the content aware fill. So that is how I do it. So I start with the clone stamp tool, and with blemishes which are isolated like this, I remove them with the clone stamp too, because the place that the blemish is, there are not too much textures there for it to replicate. So I will use these two to remove these ones first, and once I'm done with that, I will move on to the patch tool, and I'll use the patch tool as well to patch some places up. And yeah, that is how I remove the blemishes. So I'll move on to the patch tool right now. So if you look at this one, you can see that it's quite big. So yeah, I'll take it off. And yeah, I'll just use the fill, content aware fill. You right click, you go to fill, and then you select content aware fill, and you let Photoshop do the magic. So that is exactly what I'm doing now. And yeah, I'll use this on most of the blemishes. And as you can see, if I do it, it doesn't really leave much textures behind. But for this part of the face, I think it's okay, because once I'm done with the frequency separation, this part of the skin is going to be very smooth, and you aren't really going to see much of the details there. So if it's taking away the details for now, I think I don't have a problem with that. So yeah, this is how I take off the blemishes, and yeah, just like that. So as you can see, I'm going to be showing you guys the before and after in a minute, but yeah, this is the before and this is the after. I think it did an amazing job with removing the blemishes. So I'm going to use the content aware fill for the rest, and yeah. So right from removing all the blemishes, the next thing that I do is to start with my frequency separation. At first I used to do dodging and burning, but I think it takes too much time, and if you really know how to do the frequency separation very well, if you really know how to do it very, very well, I don't think you really need the dodging and burning that much. Besides, I shot this at an f3.5, so I don't think it captured too much details to be using dodging and burning. If I had shot at, let's say, f8 or above, I think it would have captured too much details that I would have preferred using the dodging and burning technique. But I think with the f-stop that I shot, it is okay to just use the frequency separation, and it looks amazing. That is if you really know how to use the frequency separation, and yeah, so I think it looks fine. So the next thing that I'm going to do is to run my frequency separation using the Retouching Academy. Now I always say this in my retouching videos, the radius that you choose for the skin is very important, because it can make or break the image. If you choose a smaller radius which doesn't work well with the skin, the skin is going to look a little rubbery. It's going to look like a rubber. It's going to look very shiny and very slippery. And if you use too much radius too, the skin is going to retain too much textures. But in this case, I think too much is better than using too small. So always make sure that the radius that you choose is perfect for the picture. If you use a radius and you realize the skin doesn't look the way that you want, delete it and choose another radius and start all over again. So with this picture, the radius that I'm going to use is 13, and I think radius of 13 is pretty good for the skin. So yeah, we are going to start with the frequency separation. Now if you see the way that I'm brushing, you can see that this part contains the highlight, and I think this part doesn't really have any highlight there. So if you've noticed, I don't brush from the white to the blacks, and I don't brush from the blacks to the white. I brush the blacks alone, and I brush the whites alone. Yeah, so that is the proper way to perform your frequency separation. And the place that the black and the white meet, I try to blend them together to make them look seamless. So I'm going to be showing you guys the before and after in a minute. It doesn't really take much time. So yeah, this is the before and after, as you can see. So I'm going to continue with the frequency separation. You have to really take your time and do it well. Make sure you know how to brush. And one thing that I'm going to say is, if you really want to take your frequency separation game very, very serious, I think you have to invest in a graphics tablet like a Wacom, or you can get an affordable one like a Huion, graphics tablet. I don't have the Wacom, I have a Huion. I think it's very affordable. It gets the job done. It has pressure sensitivity and everything. Works fine. And yeah, I've been using it for like 3 or 4 years now, and I haven't had any issues with it or whatsoever. So yeah, so this is the before and after, and as you can see, it looks amazing already. It looks amazing already. So yeah, so I'm going to keep on with the frequency separation, and once I'm done with the frequency separation, I'm going to use the clone stamp tool to remove just a little bit of the blemishes on the skin and some of the textures too. There are some places that I think there are too much textures, and I'm going to take it off with the clone stamp tool. And yeah, I'll just add the color grade, and I think that will be it. It really takes much time than this, but because it's a video, it's a tutorial, I wouldn't want to waste you guys time and make it so long. But I hope if you are watching this video, you really get the idea of how it is done. Of course, if I was doing this after the tutorial, I'm going to do it again, because it really takes longer. With this picture, for instance, I think I spent like 2 hours on that picture alone, and I don't think you guys are going to watch a 2-hour tutorial on how to edit. I'm trying to keep it a little bit shorter for you guys, because if it was me, I wouldn't watch. When I was starting photography and I was learning retouching, there was no way I was going to watch a 2-hour long retouching video. So yeah, you just perform the how do you call it, frequency separation, and always take your time with the frequency separation. You don't have to rush it. Take your time with it so that you can do it well. Make sure you cover all angles. Make sure you brush well. And once you are done with the frequency separation and it looks good, you can then go ahead and color grade. So this is the before and after. Because I use the higher radius, you can see the skin still contains a lot of texture, and that is what we like to see. So I'll go on with the same radius. Under normal circumstance, when I'm performing the frequency separation, I mostly use a different radius for the face and a different radius or a different frequency separation for the skin. But for this picture, I think I can work on the entire image with the same radius, and because I also want to keep more details on the skin or the body as well. So yeah, I'm going to be showing you guys the before and after in a bit. But yeah, let me know what you guys think down in the comment section below. And yeah, this is how it looks. I mean, for a 15 minutes retouch, I think it looks pretty amazing. As I said earlier, if this wasn't a tutorial, I would, be very careful, take my time, and, do it very, very well. So if you are watching this to learn how to, retouch, make sure you take your time and, do it well. Don't rush it. This is just a tutorial. This is to educate you and, let you know how it is done, the steps involved, and, how to do it. So yeah, I think I'm almost done with the frequency separation, and yeah, this is how it looks. Yeah, so right from the frequency separation, you can see that there are still some textures on the skin that is really, affecting it a little bit. And the way I like to, take off those textures, like this one for instance, is to select the high frequency layer and select the clone stamp to make sure my flow is around 70 to 80%. And I'll make sure I zoom in very much. And yeah, I'll clone, and then I'll brush over it just like that. This is how I take off those little, blemishes. The reason why I zoom in that much is I don't want a situation where I use a very big brush. In that case, if I zoom out like this, you can really tell that I manipulated that place. But if I zoom in too much like this and do it, if I zoom out, you can't tell that something was done there. So yeah, this is how I do it. And yeah, I think it's working the way that I want. So if you are done with the frequency separation and you want to remove some extra blemishes on the skin, I think this is the best way to go, because it really makes it look very flawless and very natural. It doesn't take away from the textures because you are using the clone stamp tool. It doesn't take away from the texture, especially if you set your flow high like my flow is at 82% right now. So yeah, let me show you a quick before and after. As you can see, just tiny blemishes have been taken off. If I come right here, this thing right here, I can take it off with the same clone stamp tool. And yeah, there's also one thing that I like to remove with the clone stamp tool, but I think because she has closed her eyes, you can't really see it. There's always a line underneath the eye. I think you can see it right here. So yeah, I'm trying to take that off. And yeah, if the eye was to be open like this picture, you would have seen it. Well, there was a lot in this picture, but I think this one, because the eyes are closed, you can't really see it. Yeah, so you are going to keep on removing the blemishes. Don't forget to zoom in before you take off the blemishes, because this is how you can get the maximum effect without it looking processed, too much processed. You want to, the key to a very good retouch is the skin looking flawless and natural even after retouching it. You don't want the skin to look a certain way when you are done retouching. It has to still look very natural with some natural textures on it even when you are done retouching it, right? Yeah, so I'm going to increase the brush size and take this off as well. So yeah, so right after this, then you are good to color grade. So this is how I did it. So this is a quick before and after, and as you can see, it really looks amazing already. As I said earlier, if I had taken my time, spent like an hour on the frequency separation alone, would have looked better than this, but I think it still looks amazing. So I'm right after removing those blemishes, I'll go on the skin again with my mixer brush 2 on the frequency separation, and yeah, I'm going to smoothen out whatever that I did right now a little bit, just a little bit. And yeah, I think I'm done with it. So here is the before and after. As you can see, really looks amazing. So the next thing that I'm going to do is the color grade, and with the color grade, as I've already retouched 2 pictures, I have the color grade here already. So the folder is named grade. I'll drag the folder on top, and bam, this is how it looks. So if I open the color grade folder, this is how it is. It's a gradient map. If you don't know how to color grade with a gradient map, I have a video on how to do it on the channel already. It's the most popular video on the channel, so go to the channel and check that video out. You know how to color grade with gradient map. So that is what I used, and I've turned it. This one was for the background, but for some reasons I don't think it looks that good, so I've turned it off. And yeah, selective color and just color balance, just these 3 things, and I think it looks amazing. So the next thing is to add a little bit of levels, and yeah, that's it. This is the entire edit. So here is the before and here is the after. As you can see, it looks pretty good. Don't forget to take your time when you are doing yours or when you are practicing. I mean, 22 minutes of editing this. I think it looks amazing, but I would have taken much time if it wasn't a tutorial. So yeah, this is how I retouched this picture. So here is the first one. Spent a lot of time on this one. Here is the before and after, and this one as well. Here is the before and after, and this one that we just used for the tutorial, here is the before and after. So I'll just add a little bit of sharpness before I save it, and that is all. Yeah, so if you like this video, make sure you give the video a big thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, let me know what you think down in the comment section below. And yeah, I think this was a really fun tutorial. I hope you guys learned something, and yeah, I will see you guys in my next one. Peace out.